Cuban friends from the ammunition and alcohol transport ships and exports eager to support Vietnam, to the rush vaccine shipments during the pandemic have always held a unique place in Vietnam's diplomatic memory. That sentiment has not faded over decades, it has only changed its expression with each period. And today, as the world enters the energy transition era, the two countries have found a new way to build a future together. This milestone is the solar power plant project in Cuba, a gift from Vietnam to a friend who stood side by side during the most challenging year. Deputy Prime Minister Ho Quang Dung and Cuban President Mike Duquesne were present in Jaruco, Vista Alegre District, Mayabeque Province, coinciding with the 65th anniversary of diplomatic relations. This is not only an energy project but also Vietnam's wish for Cuba, hoping to help the Caribbean island alleviate its long-standing electricity shortage. Speaking at the groundbreaking ceremony, Deputy Prime Minister Ho Quang Dung reiterated that Vietnam-Cuba relations are a shared asset built from having gone through many fluctuations. He believes that in the future, the two countries need to continue relying on that foundation to promote substance, especially in agriculture, energy, healthcare, and human resource training, areas where both can support each other. On Cuba's side, President Mike Duquesne recalled the affection between Fidel Castro and President Ho Chi Minh, while expressing sincere appreciation for the support Vietnam has given Cuba over the years. Besides the project in Vista Alegre, he also thanked Vietnam's initiative in supporting 4 solar power parks with a total capacity of 80 MW, a crucial resource for Cuba's power system, which is under significant pressure. Not limited to energy, Cuba also thanked the Vietnamese people for their support activity through the donation program organized by the Vietnam Red Cross. At the anniversary ceremony, Deputy Prime Minister Ho Quang Dung symbolically handed over 272 billion Vietnamese dollars from the second phase. Previously in September, Vietnam transferred nearly 385 billion Vietnamese dollars in the first phase, totaling over far exceeding the initial target, showing that the Vietnamese people's affection for Cuba remains profound. Amid a constantly changing world, the solar power plant groundbreaking ceremony holds significance beyond just the project. For Cuba, this is support to reduce electricity shortages, a problem directly affecting life and production. Cuba's power sector has long relied on outdated thermal power plants, lacking spare parts due to embargoes, leading to frequent. Transitioning to renewable energy is not only a global trend but also a practical path for Cuba to become more self-reliant in energy security. For Vietnam, this clearly demonstrates that supporting friends is not just about promises but must involve sustainable solutions. Solar power suits Cuba's climate, is easy to deploy, and has low operating costs. More importantly, it helps Cuba have better conditions for economic recovery, something Vietnam particularly cares about. This project also reflects Vietnam's own growth from a country that once received aid to one that can bring its experience and technology to support international friends. Vietnam's renewable energy industry is growing strongly, and the presence of Vietnamese enterprises in Cuba is proof of that capability. Beyond practical value, the project also carries symbolic meaning. In Vietnam's diplomatic history, few relationships are as enduring.
Fidel Castro's statement about Vietnam, that Cuba is willing to shed its blood, is still recalled today as a reminder of that special bond.
Vietnam's support for Cuba now is not about debt or repayment, but a natural continuation of a friendship that has endured through many phases. Sentiment is one thing, but cooperation between the two countries today is also. High-tech agriculture projects, vaccine cooperation, biopharmaceuticals, and investment in the Mariel Special Zone show both sides aim for, and this solar power project is clear evidence, creating concrete value while opening opportunities for Vietnamese enterprises to access the Caribbean market, as Cuba gains technology and reliable partners. The atmosphere of the Vista Alegre groundbreaking ceremony also makes it easier to feel that relationship. When students from Vo Thi Bang School in Havana performed in the program, it was not just a cultural performance but also Cuba's way of showing sincere appreciation for Vietnam. That image made the event less rigid than a diplomatic formality,
resembling a meeting of old acquaintances, intimate, close, and warm in its own way. Vietnam and Cuba are not geographically close, but that distance has never been an obstacle.
From wartime to today, the bond between the two peoples has always been built on sincerity and respect. In a period where the world faces many new challenges, the resilience of that relationship becomes even more valuable. Over the years, prolonged electricity shortages have become one of the most serious challenges for Cuba. The national power system relying on outdated fossil fuel imports, frequently disrupted by embargo measures, forces this Caribbean island nation to face widespread blackouts lasting hours each day. Many thermal power plants built in the 1970s to 1980s are now degraded, constantly malfunctioning but unable to be properly upgraded. Due to lack of spare parts, funding, and difficulty accessing international, these limitations form a vicious cycle. Lack of fuel leads to power shortages, production stagnation, economic decline, and even in daily life, the power shortage has profoundly affected the Cuban people. Residential areas face sudden blackouts during hot weather, making living conditions difficult. Many families cannot preserve food due to unstable refrigerator operation. Medical facilities in many localities are forced to use backup generators, but fuel for these devices is not always available. Production facilities processing agricultural products or consumer goods, already struggling due to a lack of modern machinery, are further disrupted by the inability. Along with economic pressure, the power shortage has become a major challenge for the lives of the Cuban people and the recovery capacity of it. In this context, the Vista de Lara solar power plant project, supported by Vietnam in its construction, carries urgent and long-term. With a total capacity of 20 megawatts for this plant alone and 80 megawatts when considering the entire chain of 4 solar power plants, the project is expected to add a significant power source to Cuba's grid, prioritizing supply to residential areas, hospitals, schools. According to the plant will operate using a new generation photovoltaic panel system supplied and installed by Vietnamese. The entire project is designed in modules, easy to maintain, and suitable for Cuba's characteristic hot climate conditions. The plant's operating mechanism is based on the principle of maximizing the use of solar radiation, a resource Cuba has in abundance. Furthermore, the plant is almost independent of imported fuel and significantly reduces operating. Inverter systems, radiation monitoring, and intelligent control systems will help optimize, while directly connecting to the local general grid to supplement a stable power source. This is also a model that helps Cuba reduce pressure on thermal power plants, which have been operating beyond capacity for many consecutive. The efficiency of solar energy use is assessed as suitable for Cuba's current needs. The context of fuel shortages, high equipment repair costs, and dependence on external supply make renewable energy the optimal choice. Solar energy helps Cuba reduce the risk of disruption, save foreign currency spent on fuel, and contribute to environment, a goal increasingly emphasized by the Cuban government. With the total 80 megawatts capacity of the project chain supported by Vietnam, Cuba can improve power supply for tens of thousands, while ensuring more stable electricity for key industrial and service zones. Looking further, the project opens new expectations for Cuba on its journey towards energy self. If operated effectively, the solar power park model can be replicated in many other Cuban provinces. Vietnam and Cuba can fully cooperate in building maintenance facilities, training technicians, and transferring technology to help Cuba independently implement future projects. This is a solid step for this island nation to gradually reduce its dependence on imported fuel and better cope with the impacts of embargoes. From this foundation, Cuba can look forward to new development directions. A stable energy system will create favorable conditions for agricultural production, which Cuba views as a priority area for reform. A stable power supply also contributes to promoting traditional service sectors such as tourism, food processing. Additionally, Cuba has strengths in biomedicine and pharmaceuticals, but the country's research facilities have repeatedly faced difficulties. When the power supply improves, these sectors have the opportunity to enhance production capacity and expand. Thus, the Vista de Lara solar power plant not only helps Cuba address the immediate power shortage, it is also a foundation for Cuba to restart important economic sectors, strengthen people's livelihoods, and move towards a more sustainable development. This is the core value that Vietnam hopes to deliver. Through this support, a support stemming from traditional friendship, but implemented with the technology and vision of the new era.
Like the journey? Subscribe and join the next expedition.